Hello and welcome to my brand new podcast. I'm Nicky Raby and I'm thrilled that you're joining us. I do lots of things. I'm an actor, coach, writer, speaker and a mum. And in my coaching work, I work with creatives, personal brands, freelancers and small businesses. In this podcast, I want to talk about success, but not in the traditional sense. I want to bring you conversations that discuss success, what it means, and how there are many different versions. We're going to be talking about business, branding, becoming visible, saying no, saying yes, and how you can create a thriving portfolio career doing more of what you love and less of what you don't. Sometimes there can be a certain mystery around the online world, so I'm going to be asking my guests how they started and grew, how they get paid, how they stand out, and how they create success on their terms. As always, please check the show notes for all things we mention and come and say hi over on social media at Nicky Raby or via my website nickyraby.com/podcast. In today's episode, I'm talking to Esther Walker, who is a journalist and has been a journalist for 15 years and worked at The Times, The Evening Standard and The Independent. She started a successful cooking blog in 2007 called Recipe Rifle and has written 2 books, The Bad Cook and The Bad Mother. She continues to freelance and has a new blog called The Spike. She's married to fellow journalist Esther Coren and they have 2 children together. This is an interesting one. We talk all about creativity. Not that the others aren't interesting, of course. We talk about creativity, how to negotiate, how to put together your package, how to get work, and how to continue to evolve when your industry perhaps has come to a bit of a standstill or is maybe not developing in the way that you wish it to, i.e. they may not be paying. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi, Esther.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, fine. Are we on? Yeah, great. Hello.
Hello. So, what's your name and where do you come from? What do you do?
I can't remember. No, my name is a bit confusing because I was born Esther Walker, but my name is now Esther Coren, technically on my passport. But because my husband, who's called Giles Coren, does the same thing as me, a bit more successfully, it means that when I do my primary job, which is writing in newspapers and magazines, I use my maiden name, which is Walker, because not only does my husband write in newspapers and magazines, so does my sister-in-law, as did my now deceased father-in-law. So there are too many Corens in newspapers. So in newspapers and magazines, I'm still Esther Walker, but on everywhere else, including Instagram, I'm Esther Coren. So I don't really know what my name is, but I come from Golders Green in London, and I now live in Kentish Town in London. So I didn't get very far, but that's who I am. And what do I do? That's another tricky question. I trained, inverted commas, as a journalist, and I was a journalist and features writer for from about 2003 until about 2007 or 8. I can't remember when I left. When I stormed out when I left.
Enough is enough.
In a fury. I worked for The Times, I worked for The Evening Standard, I worked for The Independent, and then about 2007-8 I went freelance. Just as Lehman Brothers collapsed, which was a super smart move. And then I've been freelance ever since. And what I do now, it's kind of up for grabs, really. I'm not totally sure.
It's good, though. We can totally reinvent our careers and see what comes.
Yeah.
So we first got chatting because it was International Women's Day and I wanted to talk about money and like how you navigate this freelance career and you put together your offering and you get paid for it. So I guess how originally did you get work? How did you first get your foot in the door?
Do you mean when I left university or when I left? Because when I left, I left university, I did a degree in English literature and I worked at university. I was very, very unhappy at university. I hated it. Bristol University. Very happy to name it. I really didn't like it. I didn't have a nice time, but I did like working for the student paper, which was a multi-award missing out on newspaper called Epigram. It was possibly the worst student paper ever produced by any university ever. But they were incredibly sweet people. I loved them all. I had such a lot. Actually, no, they weren't sweet. They were awful. But they were like me. We were all journalists and I really loved them. And it was my safe place, the student paper. It was really lovely. And this was obviously, not pre-email, but kind of. That's not how we communicated.
We can remember pre-internet.
Oh, yeah, broadly pre-internet. The internet was a bit kind of
phone my landline after 6.
Phone my landline after 6. I did have a mobile phone. We sent text messages to each other, but it just it was a bit communication. It was a bit analog communication wise, and it was in this sort of rusty, scummy room, and it was great. And I loved my friends on my student paper. So when I left, I went to journalism school, and I very nearly didn't get into journalism school because I did so badly in my degree, because I just didn't like it and didn't understand what was going on. But I made it to journalism school, and I loved it there as well. It was brilliant. I was like, my God, this is what a student experience ought to be like. Doing something fun that I like with people that I love, who we all went to the pub together. We all sort of went out with each other. It was all just great. It was just really lovely. And journalism school was fun, and they made you do loads and loads of work experience. And a place I did work experience was a place called The Week magazine, which is a news digest magazine, and I was there for about 2 years. But it wasn't really journalism. There wasn't very much writing going on. I was very junior. I was answering the phone, doing a lot of research. And then a friend of mine from journalism school got me an interview to be working part-time on the reception at the Times magazine. So, other people I knew had columns in the Telegraph. For real. There was a girl at school with me who had a column in the Telegraph, and they had, big...
So annoying.
They were going to America, and and I was taking out the bins at the week. Anyway, so I went to the Times magazine, where I was there sort of part-time as a sort of receptionist. And if you hang around for long enough, you get some writing work. And so I got a little bit of writing work at the Times magazine, nothing major. But while I was there, when you're there, they give you a Times email address, which was basically my most prized possession for years. For years after I left the Times, I hung on to it and I logged in so that it didn't kind of go dormant. And with my Times email address, I emailed all the other departments in the Times, all the other places where nobody wanted to work, obituaries, public agenda supplement, the career supplement, the diary, that everyone got a little email from me going, oh hi, I'm just doing some work at the Times magazine at the moment.
I'm just
didn't say what it was, I'm opening the post. I'm doing a little bit of work in the building at the moment, and do you need an extra pair of hands? And I got a little bit of shift work elsewhere, but it wasn't really anything to keep you it wasn't really gathering much pace. It was fine, but it wasn't really gathering much pace. Nobody was going to give me a job. It was all quite a bit of a closed shop. And then I can't remember how it happened, but someone told me that there was a job going on in the diary at the Evening Standard, which is the gossip column. And I thought, oh Jesus, that's the last thing in the world I want to do. I don't like parties. I don't like staying up late. I do not want to do that job.
Can I Skype in? Or Skype even invented?
No Skype. No. And so, excuse me. I don't know why I just yawned. I feel like I'm not bored at all or tired. I just had a really random little yawn.
No, it's staying up late.
Yes, I think it was. I think you're absolutely totally correct. So I did a couple of shifts on the Evening Standard diary, and they gave me a job. And I think I hated staying up late so much that I would really go hard to get a story so that I could go home,
right,
basically. So I did that for 2 years, and then I met my husband. When I was 27, I met my husband, who is also a journalist. And I couldn't really do that job and, have this boyfriend, because it just, being a diary girl and being in a relationship, they don't go that well together. And also my husband had lots and lots of famous friends. So it was very difficult for me to hang out with my husband and his famous friends and also work for a gossip column. It just wasn't going to work. And also, I was nearly 30. Nothing sadder than a 30-year-old party girl, do you know what I mean? So I just thought, okay,
hi guys!
Yeah, exactly. It's me and my Zimmer frame. So I thought this is a bit undignified. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I can't remember how it happened, but I got a job as a features writer on The Independent, which was awful. It was the closest thing I hope I will ever get to working in a factory. It was not journalism as far as I can see. It was copying things off Wikipedia. It was miserable. So after a year of moaning, my husband just said, well, just leave. It's fine, just leave. I can't bear to listen to you moaning about it anymore. So just leave. And I left.
It's awful, isn't it? When you're in that thing, like, how am I ever going to get out of this? It's taking over my life. It
was terrible. And so I left. I moved in with my boyfriend, who later became a husband. And that was that. So from all of that time, I was paid a kind of normal journalist salary, which was sort of not very much. And then I left, and my income obviously just went through the floor because I was earning nothing, and it was the recession, and I had no work. And luckily, my husband is very, very nice and very, very generous, and didn't say, you're not contributing anything. So I had a long, and part of me thinks that had he been a bit tougher on me financially, I might have got myself together a bit quicker. On the other hand, there wasn't terribly much I could do about it. Instagram and all those opportunities hadn't come along yet. There was no money in Lehman Brothers had collapsed. It was a massive recession.
I remember it well with acting. It was literally like, oh, you've had one audition this year. Oh, great. Okay.
No money. No one was making anything. There was no advertising. Nothing. I managed to scrape a few bits together here and there, and it was kind of fine. It was I emailed everybody, had loads of ideas, which I hate having ideas for newspapers because it's just they always say no. I mean, I've got no idea what is on a commissioning editor's mind. You don't have a clue. And also, if you're a bit new or if you sound a little bit desperate, they always want to send you for like a vaginal steaming or something. They want to see
I've just had one.
What they can get you. Yeah.
Just had one this morning. Put one out.
I'm sorted actually.
I'm steamed up.
I went for Easy Living magazine, another magazine that folded. I went and had I think it was about 9 months after I had my first baby, Kitty. I agreed to go and have some nude photos taken for Easy Living magazine.
Did you?
Did. And they, she did her best, but I just had a baby, and yeah, I'm quite glad they're not on the internet.
Right.
Yeah. But it was funny. I wrote a funny piece about how, I wrote a funny piece. I was pleased with the piece. The pictures were a bit thing. But, and that is the way that newspapers and magazines have gone a bit recently. If they're not gonna, they want blood on the floor every day. They want, I'm an alcoholic right now. Look at my mess of my life.
Right.
In the Times magazine this weekend, there was a wonderful woman talking about dating in her 50s, but it was very explicit. It really was. That is what they're looking for.
Yeah.
For a jobbing hack like me, and even back then, it wasn't really, the work was kind of coming in, but financially it was a pittance, I mean, really, really, really.
Especially because you're really good at what you do. It's so important.
That's the other thing. The other thing was, am I missing something here? Am I actually not a good writer? Or, what's going on? And then that continued, for really some time, and really until really quite recently, getting the money together has been really, really hard. And I had a couple of columns, but they were, one of them was about writing about exercise classes. I mean, it was BS of the highest order. I really, really didn't like it. I always had to scrabble together childcare for my kids. It was all just, I really didn't like it.
And I've always got a bit of the exercise wear, like, missing. Like, I've got the top, but then the bra looks weird, or like I can't tie my shoelace because I don't know. Yeah, it's tricky.
There was a thing. I had to have my photos taken every time. It was ridiculous because in order to do some new weird exercise class, you have to do it a couple of times to get the hang of it. If you're just going to go into like Madonna's Keep Fit or something, you're gonna arse it up and look like an idiot. And I just felt like it was just sort of humiliation journalism basically. So I quit that, and my husband sort of rolled his eyes and went, "All right, another column bites the dust." And then Instagram came along, and ta-da! And Instagram was, as I said to you before, as a private punter, Instagram made me feel quite depressed because I just thought, what is this for? What is this? I'm being, it was nice seeing, but my sister lives in Oxford. It was nice seeing pictures of her kids regularly, and it was great. But there was quite a lot of stuff on there that made me think, and you can lose yourself in Instagram quite easily. So I would kind of lose myself in the Instagram tunnel. The scroll hole. That's a good phrase. Yeah, the scroll. I would lose myself down the scroll hole, and then look up and go, Jesus, I haven't done anything today, and I've just been sitting here feeling bad about myself. This is terrible. So I came off Instagram, and then I thought, hang on, I'm being a real baby about this. Instagram is where it's at. You've got to try and make it work for you somehow. Yeah. And I'm quite lucky in that technically I'm a journalist. So I can go on there and not say I'm just some person who's on Instagram and why should you, I'm a journalist. This is what I do. I write about this and that and the other, and I do this and I work for these newspapers, and I do this. I'm not saying the people who aren't journalists aren't valid, but I think it's harder.
Right.
I think it's a bit harder to get a kind of to kind of place yourself in what it is that you do. So like all marketing with Instagram, half of it works and half of it doesn't work, and you don't know which half.
And we don't know what the rules are. It's all a bit trial and error.
Yeah, totally. And I'm not a millennial in the sense that I didn't grow up with the internet, but I am in that I just sort of am. I'm just on that cusp. I'm 38 this year.
Yeah.
And I think it was sort of technically to really technically millennial is 81. And I'm 80.
I'm 81, yeah.
So, so it kind of, where is it?
Remember the times before.
Exactly. So, as far as I was concerned, when I got into this, I was going to be a journalist, I was going to get a job in the newspaper, I was going to be a kick-ass editor, and that's how it was going to be. And then you just go, actually, it's not going to be like that. You have to have all kinds of side hustles going on in order to make a living. And once I got my head around that, it was, I just went, oh my God, this is obvious. This is what everybody's doing. Nobody just goes and works in the Foreign Office and has a job for life.
No.
Forever.
Thank God.
That isn't, I know. And also thank God, because I did, the times when I've had a steady job, after about 2 years, I thought I was going to go mad. What, this crap for the next 25 years?
Right.
No, thanks. And also with kids, if you can make it work, so you're around for your kids, if that's what you want, something like Instagram is amazing.
Yeah.
When you say Instagram pays you, how does that work? Well, there are loads of different ways that Instagram works for me. One of them is affiliate marketing, which, if you don't know, is where links on my blog to certain things that you can buy are, if you buy them, I get a percentage of your basket. You don't give me the money, the brand gives me the money. And you don't have to buy something off my blog. You can go and buy something off someone else's blog. But I found in discussions with my readers, they said, we want you to keep doing the blog. We don't mind paying a subscription service, paying a membership thing. You could sell t-shirts. And I just thought, nah, do you know what?
Yeah.
As long as, if you're cool with affiliate marketing, I'm cool with it too.
And also, if you don't do that, you're kind of missing a trick, because pulling together the blog, it takes time. Getting the photo lined up, doing the links, using your experience and your expertise, you're bringing a lot to the table as well. So if there's a way that you can make money, then that's totally fine.
It can just pay for itself, really. Yeah. And also the other great thing about affiliate marketing now, coming into it now, is that everybody's on board. So it's not a thing where I'm like, oh right, well I'm only going to promote these 3 brands because they're only doing anything.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm going to have to buy a toolbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Because,
exactly. Wix are really on board with affiliate marketing. No, it's everyone. So anything that you like, you can link it either with AWIN or Reward Style, which are the 2 programs that I'm on. So that there's no thing where you are, biased one way or the other. Everybody's at it. So that's fine. And I like talking about products, and I like talking about shopping, and my readers like it too, and it's a nice conversation. I am always really careful as well to make sure that I'm providing some kind of other value on the blog, though. I write a lot about myself. I give a lot of, there's a lot of me in there. It's very personal.
Yes.
So, and I think that's really important. If you're going to be selling things to people, you have to give value as well.
Yes.
And the same applies to Instagram. If you're going to use Instagram primarily as a marketing tool, marketing yourself, marketing your blog, it can't just be, I quite like this sweater. Somebody sent it to me.
Full stop.
Yeah. It's got to be, this is me, here's my day, these are my problems, maybe these are your problems too.
Yes.
Let's chat about it. And that has to be genuine, because readers they're not stupid.
How do you find that balance between being personal and sharing who you are without selling your soul? Or do you have your own set of rules of I talk about this, but I don't talk about that, even if they're just internal with you? I have dabbled a bit with vlogging, but not really. But you'll never see that shot of the time lapse thing of me getting out of bed, because I'm like, nobody needs to see that. It's fine.
It's a thing.
Yeah, something like Zoella, or those kind of, when they're like, oh, the camera's running already.
Right.
How do you have your own set of rules in terms of the content that you share?
I'm a massive prude. So I don't ever really talk about bodily functions of any description.
Yeah.
If somebody asks me about having a baby or what happened or whatever, then I'll go and then your your vagina might tear,
right,
and then they have to put some stitches in, and then that's that. But I wouldn't kind of think, right, I want to come in and talk about my episiotomy. That wouldn't fill me with. I would just think,
you'd be like, oh, let's get the dictionary.
Do I have?
How do we spell it?
Do I have to? Or I don't talk about sex because I don't really want to. And I don't think I'm any sort of expert. Sexpert, no. And I just, it's just, I just don't want to talk about it really.
Yeah.
And so that I would never talk about that. I really try very hard not to slag my husband off and not to slag my kids off, because I don't think that's not nice. It's not nice for them, and I think that it's not necessary. What do I talk about? Oh my God, if I don't slag off my husband and my kids, and I don't, I'm not talking about exactly what do I talk about. But I think that there are lots and lots of people who talk about those things, who talk about sex once you've had children or bodily functions or whatever, like just digestive things, or I don't know. I think lots of people who talk about it really candidly, and I think it's funny. I mean, I think toilet humour is hilarious, but just for me, I don't talk about that stuff.
You get that instinct yourself going, this feels good, or this doesn't, or it's not for me, or whatever.
I have no holds barred on stuff like how I'm feeling. I'm feeling angry because of this. I feel sad because of this. I feel ashamed because of this. That all those, and because of that, and also sort of confessions. I did this bad thing. I did that. I did. I'm quite happy talking about that. But, other stuff, other kind of physical stuff, just because I'm a little bit prudish. And money, I'm always happy to talk about money. Not exactly what I earn, because because it might be less than other people. But yeah, talk about money and talk about how to ask for money.
Yes.
We're happy to talk about that.
How does that work now that you've got all this experience under your belt? And so how do you get work now? Does it come to, do you have an agent, or like what's
I don't have an agent. I think I was talking to an agency called the Tape Agency, who were very, very nice and tough, good. They were good. They knew what they were talking about. But I'm so used to negotiating my fees myself. And my husband is also very good at that kind of thing. We were talking earlier, not on the thing, about what were we talking about? What am I talking about? Who am I? What's my name? We were talking about the importance of negotiating your fees and the importance of finding your language. Okay, so we were talking before about the importance of finding your own language when it comes to talking about money.
Yes.
And my husband is very good at finding non-aggressive language to talk about money. He's very good at saying, well, you don't have to say how much you're going to pay me. You can say something like, and what's the fee for this piece? Or, and how much should I invoice you for? And his point is always, if you even ask, that will raise the fee by 5%, because or even 10%, 20%, who knows? Because nobody asks. You can take advantage of the fact that nobody asks.
Yeah.
And the other person you're talking to might be a little bit embarrassed about money.
Yes.
Too.
They might have those money blocks of like, oh, actually, I've been here for years and I'm not really getting paid well. So actually, I don't want to introduce that because it's a bit annoying if somebody else is getting paid. And
the other thing is that there is a thing where people don't want to look like they are powerless.
Right.
They don't. Well, some people go, oh no, that's just what money we've got, and we haven't got any, we're so poor. But other people don't want to look powerless, so they want to say, well, normally our rate is this per word, but for this piece we'd be happy to pay that. And just by asking, there are so many things in play. And I think in creative industries, it's very the assumption is that you're doing it for just out of the goodness of your heart.
Yeah.
And yes, there is an element of that, because I could be a lawyer, but I'm not.
Yeah.
There is an element of that, but there is also an element of, you have to pay me.
Right.
And you have to pay me, and you have to tell me what you're going to pay me. I don't want to sit there guessing how much you're going to pay me for this piece. For people I work for a lot, like the Times, I know what their rate is. I know they're going to pay me.
Yeah.
I don't give them hell every time they ring me asking what they're going to pay me. So newspapers and magazines is one thing. And then you have the brands. So when brands come to you, and they come to you in all sorts of different ways, directly, a friend who's doing a campaign might say, will you do this campaign with me? It usually comes in the form of a photo shoot or a podcast.
Right.
And then they say, what's your day rate? How much do you charge for this? And then I scuttle into my husband's office and I say, oh, darling, now look, this skincare brand want me to do this podcast. And what shall I say? And he said, oh, well, why don't you say what you really want is this much, but you'll do it for that much as a thing. So, and I go, oh, okay. And then it starts to become quite fun because it's a brand and because you don't really know what their budget is. And they
may not do.
They may not know.
They're still
they don't
figuring
know.
It out.
Yeah, and you can say, well, I usually charge £5,000 a day or whatever. I don't charge £5,000 a day, but I usually charge
it's like the models of the
£10,000 a day. Just hypothetically, I usually charge £10,000 a day, but I would really love to be involved in this campaign. And if the funds aren't quite there, then, what were you thinking? So you can go in there and they mustn't think that you're a punk. And that's quite an important thing to have in your mind. You are not a punk. You are nobody's punk. And you should have to put aside any notion of being grabby or being greedy, or you are doing a job of work and you are nobody's punk.
Yeah.
So,
because if you went in a shop, you would expect to pay for something.
Exactly. And there's that very famous, brilliant story about Marks and Spencer's magazine, which used to be free at the tills. And it was free, and then they had these stacks of these beautiful glossy magazines full of lovely pictures, things to buy from Marks and Spencer. Nobody picked up a copy.
Apart from my nana.
Apart from your nana.
It's got all of them.
Yeah, and then they started charging £1,
right.
which they didn't need. But they went, well, let's start. So someone said, well, why don't you start charging for it? Because maybe people think it's not worth anything. They started charging £1 for it, and it flew off the shelves.
Amazing.
So Marks and Spencer's thing of nothing is 0.99. Everything is £20, £30.
Yeah.
So it was £1, and you could pick it up and you could add it onto your bill. They'd go boop and beep it through, and then they sold out.
Yeah, and people would actually then read it and value it and look after it
because they're buying something for value. So it's all about that work with brands is really fun. Because I know how much money newspapers and magazines have got, and it's nothing. So, and when you take money off them, you just think, oh, I'm just killing the industry by asking for more money.
Yeah.
Some massive global brand, you think, oh, hey, how much are they going to pay me? It's really fun. And I think if you can get your head around the fact that it's just a game, that really helps.
It's not emotional.
I think
not emotional. This is the link that many women, I don't want to say women, but many people,
creative people
of like, they're so worried, or they kind of give you 4 paragraphs as like why they deserve it, or would it be okay? And actually you just have to strip it back and use very clear and distinctive language. How important has it been for you to have your blog and like showing the evidence that you're really good at what you do, rather than kind of sitting in this limbo land of waiting for somebody to give you permission to, because I think that sometimes where it's almost like you have to make it first, and not make it, but like make the project, and then people go, oh lovely, we want more of that. Can you do that? Rather than going, why is the phone not ringing? How has that process been?
Well, there are those wonderful girls, those sisters, who write those hilarious songs, and they're taken up by Nationwide or something. Yeah. So they've been doing that for ages. Right. And then someone spotted them and went, sorry, can we just pay you millions of billions of pounds to do it? And the Nationwide, and they were like, okay.
Yes.
So definitely there is an element
and
of
that.
And
I can move out of my tent that I've been living in for the last 15 years.
Stop sleeping in my car.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been fine though, I've really enjoyed it. Yeah.
But there is an element of, build it and they will come kind of thing. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Recipe Rifle, which was the blog I did before, which was also really popular, but there just weren't any, at that point, it wasn't the kind of blog where they were really marketing and kind of, what's the word? It weren't a project, really. It wasn't like a project. It was very, very emotional. I was having a baby and I was having a thing and it was a nightmare. So the kind of the affiliate market, it wasn't very lifestyle. I mean, the blog I have now isn't that lifestyle, but it's much more lifestyle than Recipe Rifle, which was recipes and me having a big old whinge. It was incredibly popular. People loved it. But that's because I was giving them a piece of my soul every single day.
And they were sitting on their kitchen floor crying a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so that I had to go. So it's still available, recepirifle.blogspot.com. But I moved on to something a bit more straightforward. So it's very much an ongoing project from that, because I've carried over lots of readers from Recipe Rifle to the Spike.
Yeah.
And I think people know me really, really well, and they really trust me. So, and
that's so important.
Yeah. So basically, knowing me and trusting me, because I've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
I mean, there are readers who've been with me since before Kitty was born.
Wow.
So, and Kitty is the same age as some bloggers, frankly, these days. She's 7. She's like,
she doesn't have a brand.
She doesn't have a brand yet. But
she's available.
She is available. She's at school right now, but otherwise she's available. But
Easter is coming.
Some of these sort of Instagram people, they're really not much older than her. They're 18, 19, 20.
Those kids that were on Ellen, I don't know if you remember them. No. They were doing Nicki Minaj, and there's this girl from Essex, and suddenly with her little sister or cousin Rosie, and they suddenly they're international. They've got an album, 5 album.
They're doing their memoir.
I first found that.
No, it's crazy. So they are really young, and so the thing that you feel maybe a bit defensive about, like, I've been kicking around the block for quite a long time. I'm 37.
It's a good thing.
And you turn it to your advantage, because they are, their brands appeal to, like, for example, Max Factor, a campaign I joined in on, not paid. But I joined in. They gave me lots and lots and lots of free makeup, which I thought was perfectly fine. And their new campaign is directly marketed at women between the ages of about 35 and about 60.
Brilliant.
Which is really, really unusual for a massive makeup brand. They were sold by Procter & Gamble, and they were bought by Coty, which is a huge, huge company. And they're relaunching, directed at this age group, which actually I don't think any makeup brand has explicitly done.
No.
I think there are some makeup brands that sort of assume that their market is a little bit older,
like
Chanel,
Boots, so
YSL or something, just because they're more expensive and they're a bit more sort of grown up. But Max Factor is a mid-priced brand. They're not going for Madame Pompidou, who's got $1 million. They are going for you and me. We're 35. I'm 37. I'm not going to go to NARS or MAC and have those girls paint my eyelids yellow or whatever. I just want something that's going to make me look a little bit less haggard in the morning.
Right.
And
Max Factor is easy.
Yeah. So my demographic, the demographic that I am, 37, 2 children, whatever, this life stage, this is a group of people that brands have decided is worth marketing to.
Oh, yeah.
And they're worth marketing at. Hitherto, they haven't bothered. Because people my age and my life stage haven't got any money, because they spend it all on their children.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the same thing is true. What?
It's so
expensive, children. I know. So I don't know beyond that what has changed, but certainly lots of brands have now decided that we are a demographic that's worth marketing to.
Yeah, and we're sitting on our phones looking at all this stuff.
Exactly.
Buying it from there.
And they've also decided, or maybe they've just decided that whatever money this age group are going to spend, they want it.
Yeah.
They want to have it. So they are much more open to marketing directly to this age group, rather than just constantly marketing to teenagers. Where am I going with this?
Well, one thing I was going to ask in terms of creative stuff is, if you've got I've got a creative partner, he's an actor, he gets lots of good things coming his way, I'm sure your man does also, but it's that fine balance between one of you is, well, unless you have a brilliant babysitter on call at all times, is like, how do you do the thing where it's all about negotiation within the family roles? And I think I sometimes find this is that, on one hand, it's like you're trying to support somebody and go, yes, of course, go to that drinks thing, because it might end up that person is there, but also keeping things ticking over. So I guess, How, for you personally, do you decide what you want to do or what you don't, or what is a good opportunity or has longevity, or something just might be fun?
Like, I think things are moving very quickly now. Everything moves very fast. Everything moves much faster. I'm a little bit more tough on my husband now, and I say, I've got to go to this thing.
Yeah.
Because everything is worth going to. I mean, within reason. But basically,
you never know who you're going to meet.
You don't know who you're going to meet. I've got something out of everything that I've gone to in the last 6 months. Absolutely everything. And you do have to. And at the beginning, it is a little bit difficult. There are all these, a room full of really major Instagrammers is quite intimidating. Because they do all tend to be quite shy. So they can be quite a little bit difficult to get to know. But I got to know one called Kat Farmer, who does she runs an Instagram thing called Does My Bum Look 40?
Right.
And she's incredibly nice. And very just lovely, and she's at all of these big events, and she's also handily incredibly tall, so you can always find her. And she is always, I try not to cling to her too much, but she's certainly somebody who you can go hi, and she goes, oh hi.
Right.
She loves everybody loves her. There's no element of you can't sit with me, even though she's in the Instagram sort of world, she's incredibly famous. Everybody knows who she is. She's delightful. She's smiley.
It's so scary walking into a room. You feel like everybody knows each other, everybody's connected, everybody knows why they're there, and you're kind of like, I can't look at my phone anymore. And I don't do that Instagram thing of sisters. I don't do a lot of that because I'm not like that. Yeah. They're all charming. I haven't met one I didn't like. But that sort of big groups of it, I think for my readers, and it's a little bit alienating because they think, oh God, all these Instagram people, they all know each other, and I'm on the outside looking in. I feel like that, so I don't want to make my readers feel like that. So I do that very rarely, and I don't make a big thing of constantly name checking other Instagrammers and bloggers, because even though in terms of your numbers it's really good, I think there's more to it than that. Yeah, and I want to feel like my readers are with me pressing. I want them to feel like we're all pressing our noses up against the window together. Yeah. Not like I'm suddenly on the inside and they're still on the outside. Exactly. And they'll share them. Exactly. Yeah. So you have to be really, really, really careful. I mean, as an Instagrammer in my position where I'm starting to be invited to really big things, you've got to really make sure that everybody feels included at the same time. So but everything I go to is great. Everything I go to, there's a new opportunity. Another girl who's been incredibly lovely and helpful to me is a girl called Anna Hart, who runs a social media company called One Roof Social. Not totally sure what it does, but I don't really understand. She's a proper millennial. I mean, she's really she's got it all. She's really, really, really smart and incredibly nice, and has been very, very helpful to me. But it is all about, and I've been to a thing with her, and I've been to everything you go to is good. So I can say to my husband, no, I really want to go to this thing. Yes. Yeah. I've got to go. And my husband's brilliant anyway. He does bath time every single night. Unless there is a major reason why he can't. Yeah, exactly. No, just send Oscar over. It's fine. Yeah. He'll just once you've got two, you might as well have three. Yeah, fine. So he's very good. He knows that bus route so well. He does bath time every night unless he's away or unless something else has come up. So it doesn't clash too much, but I feel a little, if I'm going out in the evening, I feel a little wrench as I leave my husband there with his lonely dinner. I don't like doing that terribly much. But daytime events, as long as I'm back to pick up, my husband takes the children to school in the morning as well, so breakfasts I can always do, so it's all fine. He's never, but then I haven't put myself out for it until now, until money started coming in and I was earning, and I was like, look, they paid me this for doing that. He goes, brilliant, that's great, go and do more stuff, back when it's be back to pick up the kids. Okay, so I mean, it's a constant kind of, it's a everybody has it. Everybody has it, and nobody's got it figured out all the time. No matter what it looks like on the outside of, you know, I think sometimes people can see a snapshot of somebody's life, but we're all trying to figure it out with no rules. It's not like we're all estate agents going, okay, brilliant, so this is what you get for a 2-bed. This is what, like, it's always changing. You have to, when you go in, you have to choose who you have kids with quite carefully. Oh God. Because it's so... Thank God I didn't have kids with the others. Oh my God. Can you imagine? I'm mind boggles. What would he be like about changing it up? He wouldn't even turn up. He'd be like, babe, I'll definitely be there. Yeah, exactly. Like, that was 48 hours ago. Yeah. You're not even in the same country. One last question, which is, where would you like to be in 5 years' time? Like, career-wise, or, well, however you want to answer it. Then. I would really like to be, I would like to still be earning money from my writing. In whatever form that takes. I don't really mind. I just really love writing. I wouldn't mind doing lots of copywriting. Someone asked me if I wanted to write comedy. I'm not sure I'd be that good at it, but as long as someone... And that's more creative heartache as well, do you know what I mean? So I think I've got like 4 scripts in there that are like, I've just not completed, but they're really good. Clearly. Yeah. The wardrobe loves them. Yeah, exactly. It laughs all the time. I've only ever really wanted to earn a living from writing, basically. I'm not going to be kind of creating video content or taking really amazing photos. I'm just not. So in 5 years' time, I would love to be, I mean, I say financially independent, that makes me sound like I'm going to leave my husband. I'm not, but I would love... TBC. Exactly. It would be fantastic to say, you know, I earn a really good living from my writing. And actually not many people can say that. And I certainly haven't been able to say that for a while. And so, in the next 5 years, that would be really great. And there's also a time and a place for it, like we were saying earlier, like people, the pressure to start doing something amazing or opening a global company when your child is 3 weeks old. Yeah. You don't need to do that. Like we're going to be living and breathing and drinking and having a great time until we're 90 plus, hopefully. I think one thing that really stayed with me from my time writing obituaries for the Times. Sometimes some of my obituary people die and like pop up and I wrote that. Yeah. Like 10 years later. Great. Yeah, he was really interesting. So one thing I really learned from writing those obituaries is that life goes on for an awfully long time. Yes. 80 years is a long time. So don't worry about it, because you're going to be, look, with any luck, you're going to be alive for a long time. Yeah. And the second thing is that even before millennials came along, people had so many different lives within that one life. And I remember, in the obituary, you'd write something like, in 1973, he decided to start a new business from his bedroom as a spread better, and then sold his company 15 years later for £90 billion. And you think, wow, yeah, you can just start again. Yeah. And I think starting again kind of, not everybody is lucky enough to be able to do that financially. But if you can just say, I don't want to do this anymore, you should, because life just goes on and on and on and on. And on and on and on. And if you have that mindset of like, do you know what, I'm going to figure this out, because the alternative of sitting at this desk, sitting here doing something I hate, not seeing my kids, whatever it might be, like you find a way, don't you? Yeah, and I think that, people are very down on the internet, and I think there are lots of bad things about it, but the internet and stuff like Instagram, the opportunities are, the world is literally your oyster. Yeah. Or not literally. Oysters are disgusting. I'm not sure. If people want to find more about you, where shall they go? Oh, primarily you should head straight to The Spike on thespike.wordpress.com. I'm also on Instagram at Esther M. Coren. M for mother, Esther M. Coren on Instagram. And then confusingly on Twitter, not on Twitter very much, I'm at Esther Walker. Or you can come to my house. No, I'm only joking. I'm joking. I'm not going to tell you where I live. Open house. Yeah, exactly. Party. When you see here, like, the class above at school, they're having a house where the parents are away this weekend. Thank you. No, don't come around. No, exactly. Ever. Unless you bring snacks. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. No problem. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to find out more All the show notes are always at nickyraby.com/podcast, and you can just click on the relevant episode. If you want to come and join in the conversation, no doubt there will be one over on Instagram. You can follow at nickyraby.com and come and let me know your thoughts or feedback, or let me know who you would like me to interview next. I'm always open to having a discussion about this, and I want to hear from you. So also, if you want to work with me, if you're thinking about starting a business or going to the next level in terms of your personal brand, come over to nickyraby.com/coaching. I have one-on-one options, I have online courses, and I do some in-person events as well. I also have a business toolkit up there. So if you go to my homepage, you'll see it right there in the header, and you can join and get updates and all the good stuff. Thanks once again for tuning in, and I'll see you very soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to hear what you thought of the episode and share any takeaways with me. Come and find me across social media at Nicky Raby, or you can visit the podcast page, nickyraby.com/podcast.